You started saying Vamos.
No. I started saying Vamos, but I've started saying it unironically. At the game, I was genuinely shouting Vamos. But, I didn't think, I'm going to say Vamos. It was just what came out.
So what you're saying is you're turning into Spanish?
What I'm saying is Mikel Arteta has taken over my entire life. Mm-hmm. I was talking about this earlier. Isn't it funny that a man we have never met,
yes, 11
men we never met, take up so much of our lives?
Yeah, so much thought goes into it. Anyways, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. We are back again after a sensational victory at the Emirates Stadium, which Alex was there for, by the way. And I'm sure the reason why we won is because Alex was in the crowd waving at Galano to make sure...
You joke. I won't claim. Here's
what I will say, though. Go first.
I was going to say that you can see me. You can see me. I've got a clip on my on my Twitter.
We've seen it.
You can see me with my arms out when I was doing it. The stuff I was saying, Bhavs, honestly.
Okay, we'll keep that for a maybe behind the scenes.
An X-rated Cannon podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit too much. But what I will say is that, do we want to talk about how Mikel is starting to use the fans at the Emirates? Like the sense of before every big home game now, you can sense that Arsenal are really pushing for it. The videos dropped beforehand. Yep. Before the Newcastle game, there was this email going out to get fans into the ground earlier with the incentive of 2-for-1 beers. It feels like Mikel's trying to do something with the fans that we haven't quite seen before at the Emirates.
They've done the 2-for-1 beers stuff before. They've done loads of stuff before. There was honestly the atmosphere and the sense of anticipation. I can't tell you, it's the best I've felt at the Emirates. I've heard from various sources that the Porto fans were incredibly impressed with us, and expecting quite a reserved English crowd, but actually no. But what it is, mate, is I think something that I'm kind of thinking about generally at the moment is football for so many people, because it's consumed through a television. And me, I'm talking about me, and this isn't some shade at anyone else. I consume it through a television, so it becomes a television program to some degree. It becomes, why aren't my favourite characters on TV delivering the happiness that I want? Why aren't they saying the funny lines? Why aren't they, whatever? In the same way you'd consume a television program. When you're there, it isn't a TV program. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but it isn't. You see the blood, guts and thunder. You see how hard people run. You see the tackles. You hear the ball. You feel the physicality of it. And you're reminded how much of it is we joke about the kind of passion merchant sort of analysis, and you should never go too far into that. But I think sometimes, maybe in my analysis, something that I need to work on is sometimes it becomes too abstract and comes too tactical and too kind of we did this and that. Actually, so much of this game is what you said, Arteta using the fans. That 100% had a massive impact on the game. 100%. I'm not saying we don't win the penalty shootout without the fans. I don't think it's that simple. But is that part of it? 100%. 100%.
Yeah, there was non-Arsenal fans in that stadium, not even just Porto fans, the fans of other clubs that were there, and they were saying, look, it was a very hostile atmosphere for that penalty shootout, and it was part of Mikel's call. And I think it goes down to you see Anfield, you see the other stadiums in the Champions League, and sometimes in the Premier League, and you're going, that's a difficult ground to go to. The Emirates has always been good because we play good football, but not the atmosphere. You're never going, it's going to be a hostile atmosphere at the Emirates, but the whistles and the boos, and look, there was a nervous energy. Of course there was. I was nervous at home, so I'm sure you were in the stadium as well, for sure. No. But look, it was one of those where I could definitely see that the fans are starting to reciprocate what Mikel Arteta wants, and it's very exciting, don't you think?
It's really exciting, and I think I think it was a quote from Mikel recently. We talked about if we want to be the best team in the world, we're going to have the best everything, and part of that is the best stadium. So this is the thing is. And one of the many reasons I admire Mikel so much and think he's the right guy for us is he will stop at nothing to overturn everything possible to get an advantage for the team. It's we think these things are kind of tangential and why do we care about this, that, and the other? Why is there a dog at the training ground, mate? If this guy would saw off a limb if it helped the team, and so we've got to take off every single possible opportunity, and we've got to take inspiration from if we go to Anfield away last season and we go, that helped them win the game. Why aren't we doing everything possible to get that at our stadium? And I think we are on the way.
Yeah, I think that's what Mikel Arteta wants, because it's such a powerful thing to have, that whole you don't want to get the fans going. You want to make sure nothing happens. We all remember that, was it Jamie Carragher's Gary Neville saying, he's kicked got the fans going now.
It becomes
imagine that was the Emirates.
It becomes
Alex is going in the crowd now. He's going to get shaky.
He's got the hat on. Honestly, I think what it is, mate, is what I feel, Arsenal, I love Arsenal for so many different reasons, but one of it is we have such a passionate fan base. it really is. And when you're at the ground, you realise it, and how many people love Arsenal, how diverse it is as well, and like the in terms, not only culturally but in terms of how people view the game, and so many different things. That's ready to be activated, and you can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel that sense that people are sort of waking up to. Oh, we've been asleep, and we can start to feel something slightly different.
Yeah, it's a very powerful thing, and I think it's wise that you mentioned that Mikel will do anything to win, because it's a new trend that Arsenal is starting in the tunnels. I'm not sure if you've seen it, where all the defenders turn around to the opposition players and give them the eyes. And there's one player specifically.
This is a good link.
One player specifically who's very, very good at that. He's got that football Twitter aura, let's just say. Ben White.
Which is what they teach at academies, I'm pretty sure. They say you need football Twitter aura. That's what you need. Don't worry about your first touch.
It's definitely part of the first lessons there. Hale is a master of it. But yeah, the Arsenal players will start to look and try to intimidate the opposition, and Ben White is one of the main players. And obviously the big news came out today that he has signed a brand new contract, and you had that video go out of describe Ben in one word and that type of stuff, and a lot of it was warrior and anything to win. And I think that describes Ben White perfectly, doesn't it?
It does. It's a fascinating situation. And one of the words was Bruce from Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that.
Maybe Bruce the Shark?
Maybe it's an inside joke. Probably. Maybe just let us in London Colney and we'll see.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Come on, just let us in.
Yeah, come on.
So, yeah, this is a bizarre situation. I will start by saying this. Everyone loses as it is right now. Everyone loses. In the end, I know we talk about international football and we might not necessarily sneer at it, but we might see it in the way of a club, our club. But Ben White going away and having those experiences with England would make him a better football player. It would. So it helps, and the balance of that and the international status you can get and the experiences you can have and the stakes and being in those types of games, etc., those events and having those experiences makes you a better football player. So yes, okay, maybe there's a bit of a risk of injury or whatever, but on balance, I think it is better. So Arsenal lose. Ben White loses because he wants to play for England. I don't want anyone telling me he doesn't want to play for England. I think Sky Sports Retro put out a clip saying of him when he talks about his first England call up. He said he cried. He cried because he wanted to play for England so bad. That's so we'll come to maybe the reasons that's changed. But don't tell me that Ben White doesn't want to play for England. It's just not true. It's just not true. And you can look back through his tweets. You could just guess it from the fact that anyone would want to play for the country. But anyway. And finally, most importantly, England lose because they lose a brilliant football player who could play in many positions on the team and is in currently the best team in the league at in unbelievable form. So everyone loses. So before we even analyse the situation, something has to change, and I think it's been handled really poorly. But yeah, we'll get into it.
It's funny because you see the quotes from Gareth Southgate, and he generally looks disappointed that Ben White doesn't want to play for England. As it stands, he's not available, and he was saying that he would be in the squad. His performances deserved him to be in the squad. There's like a guarantee there. It's almost like him putting out to the media, look, you're here, we want you a part of our plans, but if you don't want to be a part of it, we can't do much. It's almost a plea, and what happens now is you'll have fans questioning as well and talking about it like we are right now. Should Ben White play for England? Why does he want to play for his country? A part of that, I think, also comes down to how much he wants to win for Arsenal right now. Maybe it's a part that he don't want to go into international break, recover a little bit more, get himself ready, and we've got a massive game obviously after it against Man City. He really is focused on Arsenal right now. I think a lot of the players are right now in the sense of they don't want to go and ruin what we have. We've got momentum on our side, and I think, a lot of players want to almost just stay at London Colney, keep training, get ourselves there because, it's international friendlies. It isn't a World Cup qualifier. It isn't a Euros qualifier. It's not going to count much. So for Ben White, I agree. It's a good experience, but I think what he's doing is putting Arsenal first because right now he appreciates what Arsenal have done more for him than his country. Yeah,
you could argue that on this call up, but I don't think that's fair, really, generally, to say. I think I do strongly believe. But people might disagree with me, but I strongly believe that you might not care about international football, but the question of does this benefit Arsenal, yes or no? I do think overall, what we're talking about the player and the player's experiences, which will undoubtedly be buoyed by these experiences, in my opinion.
The only thing I'll say though is let's just say Ben White was in the squad right now. And I know right now there's a lot of right-back injuries, but going into World Cup, Trent's fit, maybe Reece James is fit, you've got Trippier's fit, you've got Kyle Walker fit as well. In his actual position, there's a lot of players already there. So even when he's a part of it, he's almost like a utility player. Is it an ego thing, or is it just the self-belief that he thinks he can get into that team? I'm not quite sure where, even if Ben White was in a squad, where he fits in when everyone else is fully fit and available. Like, does Ben White start over Trent? Does he start over Kyle Walker? Does he start over Reece James or Trippier? Southgate's definitely got his favourites, and I think, look, I don't think Ben White gets over those players. Not for Gareth Southgate, at least. We've seen how he's obviously favoured the likes of Maguire, Pickford, these players that he knows he can trust. So I think Ben White maybe wants to just, take the best of his time. Maybe wants to chill the missus for a bit of Netflix, bit of relax, and then maybe, look, it is interesting, because I think what will be intriguing is come the Euros and the season's over. And I don't know what Arsenal have done at that point, what Ben White's done. What does Southgate do then? Because you might have a few players unavailable, and you're going to a Euros where Ben White is a very versatile centre-back and right-back. Both, he can do it. He can play inverted. He can go forwards as well. Does he call up a player that's almost rejected him in the past?
Well, how do you become a favourite? It's time. And it's time, and you have to play, and you have to play your way in. We joke, we make the jokes about Jordan Henderson and Calvin Phillips, and that they're going to start a striker. Fine, but how does that happen? It comes from consistent performances over the year, to a fault, by the way. To a fault, where I think the likes of Harry Maguire are used, and the loyalty is overpaid. It's overpaid. It should just be done on merit. But you do that by playing and being involved. And yes, okay, at the moment Ben wouldn't necessarily get any of those players, but you never know what's going to happen. And you could, of course, in an international friendly, you could point to certain situations. Overall, in someone's career, it is beneficial to be playing at the very best level as much as possible. It really is. So everyone loses. I do want to come on to the comments themselves, because they are interesting. They don't make sense. What really frustrates me is you can have a problem with a player. There's clearly something we don't know, and I would be remiss not to mention a number of sources today, not least Clive Palmer, who said that there's things that aren't in the public eye, and there's rumours about what they are and about what the reasons why.
It's getting tasty.
But there are rumours why Ben White left the World Cup and all sorts of things. But we know there's things we don't know, and we also know that because Southgate's response doesn't make any sense. What he says is this: "I want to pick him." Okay, well, if you want to pick him, pick him. Well, I can't. Okay, why can't you pick him? Because he doesn't want to play for us. Why does he not want to play for you? Don't know. Well, you didn't ask. Of course you asked. You definitely asked. What you don't want is to tell people what Ben said. And you could handle that in a completely different scenario. You could say, we have, at the moment Ben is going to be unavailable for selection. It's my decision. I'm going to take the flak for it and do all that. You don't need to put the player out and leave him out to dry. I don't think that's acceptable. I then also would invite everyone to go and look at the Athletic article that came out this afternoon. There is a number of things in it that I think point to the FA instructing, and I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat here, but I do really feel quite strongly about this, and I would like, if you are watching or listening to this, to go and look at these three things. I think it's three things. One, they point out that Ben White, that they have exclusive information. Okay, they have exclusive information about why he left. So they talk about, supposedly it was Steve Holland dressed him down in a kind of a team discussion. That there was a week between that happening and Ben White departing the camp. That Ben White wasn't happy. That all these sorts of things. They have all this exclusive information. Who's providing that exclusive information? Who would want that information out there? England, the FA. So they've clearly provided the information. Why would Ben White be telling them? Oh yeah, which by the way paints him in a bad light because of what I'm about to say. Then in the article, there's 3 points. One, they misquote Gareth Southgate, and they say he, for example, when at the beginning he says something along the lines of, they say Southgate heard through second-hand information, or was told through somebody else, through a second party, that Ben White wouldn't be picked. And they say that. Well, firstly, that's standard practice because you get club executives to call the chief of the FA or John McDermott, whoever it is, standard practice. So don't try and make it this, he's not a man, he's not telling him. And secondly, Gareth Southgate in the press conference gets misquoted in the article. He says we were called, and then says John McDermott. So they cut out we. Second thing, they also are at pains to mention that there was an entire week between the incident happening and Ben White leaving, essentially implying, well, he probably should have gotten over it himself. That's what the read I gave. It's worth saying that there was a week between it and that should have been resolved. And they also say finally, basically two of the main reasons he wanted to go home was because he was unhappy in the camp. He didn't like the environment, and he wasn't getting in the team. What does that tell you? That tells you, essentially, subtly, this guy's unprofessional because he's not getting the team. He causes a fuss. Now, does anyone buy that? So I think that has been said by the FA to the Athletic this afternoon, because we're talking Thursday, 14th of March, and they've said we need some information. We need more information. We essentially need to plug the gap of this bit of information that no one yet knows, which I'm sure we will all find out eventually. We need to plug that gap with exclusive information that Ben White had a fallout. He wasn't getting the team. Didn't quite like it. He's going to go home. I don't buy it.
It's intriguing because even Southgate saying that it was Edu that called up and said that Ben doesn't want to be included is interesting, because obviously Ben would have Southgate's number. You could just text him a little WhatsApp and say, look, Gareth, I ain't fancying it this week, international break. So I think there is definitely some sort of something happening behind the scenes, which we don't fully know, of course, apart from the Athletic, if you want to believe it or not. That's up to you guys. But the thing that is confirmed, done deal and officially confirmed, is that he signed a brand new contract that is up till 2028, going up to 2029. And it's big news for Arsenal, because I'd argue right now, current form as a keeper, Ben White might be the best right back in the league on current form. I have to repeat that twice, because our old people will take that, oh, he said he's the best right back in the league on current form.
So what you're saying is...
So what I'm saying is, I don't like Trent, I don't like Walker, I don't like Trippier, I think they're all awful, I think they deserve to be in League One, and Ben White's the best.
I thought I heard you say that, and I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you. It's terrific news. I mean, it's a shame it's been marred by this. I've seen some people say possibly it was on purpose, but
did you see the reaction to his quotes, as in the interview itself or the announcement video? Yeah, there's people ripping it apart. They're saying, why have Arsenal made out like Ben White's passed away?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, come on,
It was really nice. If you haven't seen it, it was essentially all of his teammates sort of describing Ben in different phrases. It was lovely. It's really sweet, and I think also the club have a strategy, and sometimes I think you have to sort of read between the lines a little bit. I remember when Tomiyasu was out of the team, they did quite a lot on Tomiyasu in the club media.
Yeah,
I think sometimes they try and push people at a certain point. Say again?
As in, he's still here, almost
a
reminder.
Yeah, exactly. It's a kind of, this guy's still here, he wants to get back in the team, don't forget about me kind of thing. I think they did one on Kivior and he wasn't quite playing. So there's all these sorts of things. So I think with White, they even say it in the video, you maybe have a perception of who he is, but actually that's not who he is, and he's actually all these great things. They're not stupid. And the club media aren't sat in some room not talking to the execs. They all want to put out the same message. They all want to be on the same page. You think Mikel Arteta's, Mikel Arteta's not the one doing the 2-for-1 beers, but there are at least discussions saying 2-for-1 cervezas. But there are at least discussions saying how do we align things at this club, and that will 100% be a part of it because it's so important. So many eyeballs on it. So there's a reason for that, and I loved it. And of course, people are going to mock it, whatever. But I think it's really important, and it's important about what is the club trying to say, what is the club trying to get us to see about Ben White that we haven't previously seen.
You're right. The club clearly have a strategy, and they've got a strategy for a lot of things. There was one specific strategy that we need to focus on. We have focused on, actually. The arrival of David Raya in the summer to replace Aaron Ramsdale. A lot of people criticised it, but after Tuesday, Alex would have known from being in the stadium, I don't think fans are questioning it just as much.
Thanks for checking out the Cannon Podcast. To hear the full episode, sign up as a YouTube member on this channel or go to patreon.com/thecannonpod.